Hi.
Hi.
Right on time.
Good. Where are you?
I'm in France. I'm in the countryside where we have a studio. We've shipped all our gear from touring to the studio here, so we can do some music this summer. And so, yeah.
What time is it there?
Huh?
What time is it there?
It is 6:30 p.m.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. It's 9:30 in the morning, so I this is the first thing I'm doing before even having breakfast.
Oh no, you have coffee. Come on.
I don't drink coffee.
Okay, well then, okay.
It makes me a little too crazy.
Yeah, I
And
get
I'm
that.
already very hyper. Jehnny, congratulations on your absolutely beautiful album.
Thank you so much.
Let
Thank
me
you.
I was the more I study you and the more I learn about you, I feel like you're one of those people that was born an artist in the sense that there was no other path for you. There was no maybe I'll be a doctor, maybe I'll be a lawyer, maybe I'll see what's happening, but I feel like you were one of these people that were just born to create. Am I wrong in saying that?
I don't know. I think you may be, and I think everybody's born to create.
Yeah,
Um,
true.
I think it took me a really long time to call myself an artist, though. I remember when I moved to London with Johnny Hostile, and we lived in that tiny room, and we were writing, rehearsing, doing everything in that room, recording ourselves. I remember a conversation at that point where I said to Johnny, I can't call myself an artist. And he was not angry at me, but he was saying, come on,
Yeah.
if you're not going to call yourself an artist, what are you? You are. And at the time, I just don't know why. Maybe I was just a bit young, but it felt too much of a big word, and
Okay.
but actually I embraced it, and I think it helped me to just, okay, yes, it was the defining moment, where I decided, yeah, actually, this is the life I've chosen. I think it's because it's you've been told, all your life that being an artist is not very normal life, and then you're not necessarily going to be happy, and
Yeah.
there'll be no money, and
Financially struggle a little bit. Yes.
yes. So I
Correct.
think I was sort of maybe scared to make the jump. But I think once I've accepted the title, I felt more comfortable in my own skin.
Okay, that's fair. Did you start acting before you started singing?
Yes, because when I was 3 years old, I was on stage for one of my father's plays. So I was, he was a theater director, and he would do tours, and we would, or he would rehearse his new plays. And after school, I'd go and see the rehearsals. And I think acting was always, I would do small roles in some of his plays. And then I went to drama school. Um, and yeah, and then I did a movie actually before I met Johnny Hostile and started making music a bit more professionally. So yes, I would be saying that's where I came from. That's where my parents, they expected me to do that, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
To go to the big national drama schools, and which I tried to enter, but I failed.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. I speak for a living and I failed public speaking twice.
There you go. Amazing.
I finally passed it because I took a shot of vodka before I gave my last speech, and then
Oh, wow.
yeah, and then that like calmed my nerve, and I passed. But so you just released "To Love Is to Live," and I want to talk about the title first, because that title to me means very much, because I agree, to love is to live, and sometimes
Yeah.
there's a certain courage attached to living, because you're going to get your heart broken, but at the same time, if you don't live your life and break your own heart and make mistakes and fuck up, you're not, you'll never get to the side of it that is true love. So tell me about the title and what it means to you.
It's it's a very it's been said before, to love is to
Yeah.
live. It's not new, but that's why I kind of liked it, because I felt that it's something that we forget. We keep forgetting that to love is there's no living without being loved, without loving, and and we keep forgetting that, or on mortality and the fact that we're not here for long. And sometimes when we're reminded of that, I think it helps us to love better and to live more fuller, like what you just said, like to not be afraid of making mistakes, of failing, you know. And I think it's important to remind ourselves of it. And I think the record is sort of, parts of the record is to awake that urgency, you know, that sense of urgency, wanting to do more and to love more, and to find yourself on the edge, and but enjoying the ride.
I heard it's a very vulnerable record, but it's also very unapologetically truthful. So while I listen to it, I wonder, as an artist, there are certain artists that get caught up in what they think an album needs to be, what people want, what the label wants. I feel like you're not that artist. What did you need for this to be for you?
You're right. I wasn't really, I was alone, and I financially produced it myself with Johnny Hostile, which means that there was total freedom in what we were going to do. And I always think of that as a real luck, you know, and a real opportunity to do something that isn't, as you said, pressured by any sort of partners or teams, which would be well-intentioned sometimes, you know. Right. But the idea of this record was really to not repeat myself, to not do the same things as before, and to break down some walls. So for instance, the beginning of the making of it was me and Johnny in the studio, and like a lab experiment, trying so many versions of the tracks, and we needed to just explore all the ideas that we had in our heads, and try to see what worked and what didn't. So there was a lot of failing in doing that, but I think it was a really great soil then that we could bring to other producers and show what we had done. Sorry, I've completely forgot your question, and I don't know why I'm at.
We did this last time when we had that Zoom tea party. My question was, what did you need for this album to be for you? What did you want to satisfy within yourself with what you gave us?
I think it was, so the album came out of a necessity. I think it's artists and musicians are fragile beings like anyone else, but you always hear about artists who are depressed, or, and I think there is a real danger if you don't listen to what's inside and you don't follow your creative, inspiration, you can end up being in a place where you're actually quite dry. And so I think making this record was trying to follow that inner voice and trying to say, I need to preserve my inspiration. And for me, it was not doing a Third Savages record, it was doing something much more personal. So there was this sort of, it's my fifth record in a way, because I've had released 4 records with different projects before, but it does feel like the first one. And it's a great feeling, although a bit late.
You're right in calling it personal, and you've collaborated with some of the most fascinating people. Atticus Ross, to me, is one of the most brilliant minds in music.
I can see the 9 Inch Nails poster there.
Yeah, you see it, Atticus Ross, and it was interesting that you ended up with Cillian Murphy, who is an actor. So yeah, I want people to know. I kind of know the story, but I want you to tell it in your own words for people that are watching this that don't know.
For Cillian or for Atticus?
For Cillian Murphy.
So I had this text I had written for the record called The Place Above, and I knew I didn't want my voice to read it, or also not the pitch voice which I have on the record. And I knew the record was going to be like a multiplicity of voices, like people coming in to join in, and I enjoyed records which had the sense of almost cinematic, like characters coming in and out. Well, Cillian was a fan. I think that's why it so started. He has a radio show on the BBC, and he played Savages several times. So we didn't have people in common. I just asked for his email, somehow got it, and then wrote him a letter. and then sent him the text, and I said, if you like it, would you be interested in reading this for my record? And at the time he said yes, before he heard any music, which is incredible. He had blind faith. He said, yes, I love the text. It's big stuff, he said, about the text. And he said, if you don't mind, I'd love to read it in a small way, in a very quiet way. And I thought, why not? Yeah, I mean, do whatever. Like, I think he has one of the most beautiful voices in cinema right now.
Absolutely. And I do love that he read the text and heard it in his own voice. So
yes.
it brought something out of him too. So that was really interesting. I want to know, we talked about heroin. So I know a lot about heroin, and I played it on the radio, and it was awesome. But I want to talk about the man. I'm the man.
I'm the man.
Tell me about, because you have a song like Heroin, where you're your own heroine, and then you have a song called I'm the Man. So explain to me the thought process behind that.
Sure. I'm the Man came from this idea that that I had to take responsibility for the evil of this world, in the sense of, if evil exists on the other side of the planet, it means it exists also inside of me. And I had to come clean in a way to say, if I'm going to do a personal record, I have to be honest about what I feel and who I am. And not everything I feel or not everything I am is really pure. You know, there are contradictory thoughts in me. There's a certain level of violence sometimes, and anger, and so I'm the Man was trying to say, yes, you know, the evil man, the one you point the finger out. This is also who I am.
Man. Got it.
This is also who I am. I am this man, and he's in me, you know, he's part of, we can't deny the humanity that we share. And so, you know, I always say, like, if you see a bunch of dolphins and you see one that is a rapist, you're not going to say, I mean, you know, it's just one example. You know, you think of dolphins as rapists in general, and I just think that I see humans as the same. Anyway, so, but then it was also a layer of, you know, this level of violence is also you know, this lot of masculinity and, you know, toxic masculinity, as we call it. And I wanted to, you know, portray that kind of man and be it, so that I could be that man, and also sort of have fun, if that makes any sense. Have fun with playing the bad guy, you know. Like in movies and novels, I wanted to be a character where I could show all the sides of my personality, and not just pretend that I'm standing on the right side of the fence all the time with pure thoughts and pure thinking. I don't, and I struggle with that. I do, and those things keep me up at night sometimes, and I don't really know what to do with these things. But I think when I'm lucky, I can express them. You know, I put them in a place and then have fun with it, and on stage be there, I'm the man, you know, and be like proud to be a monster and play with, like when you're a kid.
And it's a catharsis. You get to do that. You get to do all of those things.
And that's what actors do, and they can, you know, even Cillian Murphy, when he plays Tommy Shelby, you know, of course he's a bad guy as well, but you love him for it. And I think that's what I wanted to play with. Hopefully I succeeded.
I think it's so, what I've been drawn to since I first started to get to know you, you're so self-aware, and you're so honest, not with other people, with yourself. You acknowledge the light, the dark, the conflict, the violence, the gentle nature, and I don't think that people do that enough. So I find that heroic. I do find it heroic when somebody can say, I'm fucked up, but I'm learning, and it's such a natural part of who we are as humans. So I find that brave. Yeah,
and also we've seen that recently, don't we? Like with everything that's happening since the assassination of George Floyd, and even in feminism, it's the idea of, we live in a patriarchal and violent society, but it's people like me and you also need to admit that, look at ourselves, you know, and think, you know, it's not enough just to say, oh, I'm not racist, or I'm not I'm a feminist. You know, you also have to admit that those things are implanted in you from generations and generation, and it's education, it's society, it's a conditioning, and you need to check yourself, you know, and make sure you can't just be sitting there and saying, I'm not having those thoughts. You know, you're a product of your own time, and you're a product of your education, and we live in a society that carries all these evil things, and so we carry them with us. And what's been great recently, I think, is that we've asked people to just you know, have a closer look, you know, of who they think or what their thoughts are, and things are sometimes hiding in plain light, you know.
I've learned so much. I thought at the beginning of all of this, when right after the murder of George Floyd, people were talking, they were having conversations that I hadn't had before, and I have always denied white privilege, like, no, because I'm not a racist, I don't have white privilege. And I've learned so much about just the fact that I may not think I have white privilege, but I do, because I've never suffered because of the color of my skin, and in some way my life has benefited by the oppression of the Black community, whether it's financially or whether it's somehow or another, I have it. And so this has been a really interesting time to get in touch with one's own self-awareness.
Yes.
Which,
yes, and as an artist, I think you can't just draw a line and say there's good on the side and bad on the other side, and I'm standing on the right side. And you know, it's I feel like as a responsibility to go both sides and to report how it feels to wear the mask of evil, you know.
I think we all have that in us too. We have good and evil. It's the side that we choose to live with, and it's great that artists like you have the ability to dance in all of those arenas and then and come to the table with something.
It's a dance, you're right. But you never get rid of things. Like, I have a song about jealousy on the record called How Could You, where Joe Talbot from Idols is featuring. And the song is so aggressive. It tries to portray how jealousy really transforms the way you are and you act, and how it's almost like an illness, and it changes your perspective and takes over completely into this sort of violent sort of emotion.
It brings out the ugliest side of people, in my opinion, jealousy.
It does. And it's so overpowering. And I wanted to talk about it because I think you can never really get rid of it. It's something, again, that's really implanted in your DNA. You know, you're told that love is linked to jealousy as well, that, you know, that if your partner is attracted to other people, you should feel threatened. You know, there's all this thing, conditioning you constantly have to struggle with and work around and manage. But it's never really not there, you know. You
are such a great conversationalist. I could go on and on, but I know that you have, you're endlessly fascinating and so talented, and you've always been so forthcoming. If I were an artist, I would not listen to critics. I wouldn't read reviews or anything, but it has been a pleasure to read how your album is blowing people away. But not only how your album is blowing people away and people are calling it a work of art and a masterpiece, and then to hear other females that I admire, like Karen O and Shirley Manson of Garbage.
Oh my God, I know.
Completely freaking out over your record. How do you feel? Because those are my queens.
Yeah, they're queens to me as well. Yeah. Oh my God, I can't even explain. I think you know, when you've been carrying a record for so long and suddenly it's finally out, and you're right, the reception. I mean, I don't usually read reviews, but I was asked by someone on my team, was like, have you read this, you know? And I was like, really, what? And I'm already making new music. Like, I try to keep it real, you know, and not try to just, but I feel it's just a wonderful fact that other artists would, you know, notice, and it's always been like that. Actually, I remember from the first days when I moved to London and I discovered this venue. It was a little club, and we became friends with the people there, and then artists started to play, and I was working there, the KROQ room, and it was other artists that would come to me first and say, what you're doing, I love what you're doing. And it's great to feel like part of a community and feeling supported, and to still feel that today. So yeah, it's a real blessing. I mean, Karen O, Shirley Manson, I mean, they've been
I
so
think
supportive.
she posted a picture of your album, where she posted a picture of you and had written something very lovely, and then Shirley Manson wrote under it, and I was like, she's gonna die when she sees this.
I know, I did.
She's gonna freak out. She's gonna cry.
Yeah, Shirley sent me an email about the record. Really, really nice. And I don't know, it's just, those are my heroines from when I grew up, you know, the yeahs. I mean, for Karen, I mean, I went to see them. I was 15. I took a train to Paris, and it was my first rock show, you know, the first. Yeah. And she was so free on stage. I had never seen someone be so free. Yeah. She's doing whatever she wants. I love this. Yeah, and it was so liberating. Yeah, she's important to me.
Well, you are that to so many people, and I know I can tell you're humble enough that you're not going to say I'm Karen O to some people, but you are. And just the last time that we spoke, before I let you go, I wrote down a bunch of the things that you were saying. We were talking about boxing, and you're saying you need a certain attitude. And I'm like, wait, but you need an attitude with life. So I've adopted a lot of the things that you've been saying and that I've read that you've written. So thank you.
You're welcome. And thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. The album, it's actually a work of art, and I hope that you have an incredible time, and just wait till you get to start touring. But for now, you get to just kind of relax and enjoy.
Yes, exactly.
And embrace the love.
I can't wait to be on the road.
Oh,
it's going to be amazing.
I can't wait to be at a show. So I will see you soon, hopefully, sooner rather than later. Jehnny, thank you so much. I look forward to talking to you again, hopefully.
Same. Thanks for having me. Take
Have
care,
a good evening. Bye.
Yes, have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.